Hi, my name is Alicia Atkinson. I am the Innovation Lab Director at the Prosperity Agenda. Welcome to Coaching Up Close, our mini webinar series designed to work some quick tips and tricks into your coaching practices to help improve your coaching skills at your organizations. First, let me quickly introduce the Prosperity Agenda. We are a nonprofit that's working to end persistent poverty by focusing on changing the way we think about and build programs for and coach families under financial stress. Coaching is a big part of our DNA. We live and breathe it daily, and we work with organizations across the country to really expand and deepen their coaching programs. Before we jump in, if you're joining us live, we'll be having a question and answer session at the end of this webinar, so save your questions. And now let's get started. So today's session is about hiring coaching inclined people. I'm going to share a little bit about how at the Prosperity Agenda we think about hiring people who are coaching inclined and really see this as a key way to really deepening organizational practices of coaching. And really thinking about how training can stick with these individuals and potentially expand across your organizations. Because we know for some that coaching can be a huge paradigm shift, and for others it just immediately makes sense to them. I'll share a little bit about how the Prosperity Agenda has gone through its own organizational journey to become a design-led organization over the past couple of years, and how that's really changed and helped us adapt some of our hiring practices. And lastly, I'll walk through some high-level qualities that really has informed a new tool that we've created called Hiring Coaching Inclined People. And so I'll walk through kind of what's included in that and so forth. So one note I want to make before I kind of dive into the content is that we want to acknowledge that hiring is complex. What I'm going to talk about today is not a full picture of what you need to think about when you think about hiring. We're really coming at this from a coaching approach and how we can think about coaching qualities informing your hiring practices. We want to note that, equitable and diversity and inclusion initiatives around hiring are also very important. This is really meant to be a complement to those things that you all already have going on at your organizations. And so really, again, focusing on that coaching quality and coaching practices. So why are we thinking about hiring coaching inclined people? One thing we say all the time at the Prosperity Agenda is that training isn't enough to really deepen and sustain coaching practices at your organization. It's part of the picture. So we started thinking about what other tools and resources could we create that would really help, fund, maintain coaching practices. And really came to this place where coaching practices have to live everywhere, not just with your frontline staff, all the way from your HR teams to your finance teams, and that thinking about hiring for these qualities could really benefit all different parts of an individual's organization. So we thought we wanted to dig deeper into what this really meant and what this really looked like. And so we actually partnered with some community-based organizations to talk about what tools do they already use, what could really be helpful for them to really expand and deepen these practices. As I'm sure you've noticed at your organization, some people go through training and it just clicks. Something clicks with them when it comes to coaching. And what we found out in our research is talking to these individuals, they actually have, personally seek out other opportunities to learn about coaching, whether it be books, whether it be webinars like this, whether or not be other resources that really deepen and help them really bring that coaching into their everyday lives. We've also heard that people sometimes take what they've learned in training and bring it home. They practice the skills and techniques with their kids. They practice with their partners or with their family members. And we found this, really fascinating. So we thought about how could we think about, this being an opportunity, and how can we think about, drawing out these individuals who really are just taking to the coaching approach and, thinking about poverty on a more complex level, which really we believe is key to understand how to, deeply practice coaching at your organizations. How flexible are people? How much empathy do they bring? Are some of the questions we asked. As I mentioned before, TPA has gone through kind of an organizational transformation over the past couple of years around using human-centered design and design thinking practices at an organization. And this really helped us start thinking about how do we build a team that really lives and breathes design, similar to becoming, a coaching-led organization. And so 3 years ago, I was actually completely new to design and really had to come up with some processes and qualities that we were looking for when it came to building an innovation lab at our organization. And, we have kind of a saying here that design and coaching really are similar. And so we came to a similar place of wanting to hire people who came with, deep empathy for the work, a deep ability to kind of change their minds, because we really wanted the voices of the individuals we're trying to design for to lead our programs and services, again, similar to coaching. We also found that, walking into a room, having that curiosity and that flexibility to change with how the conversation's going. Again, when we think about the fluidity of approach, being able to walk into a coaching room and not always know exactly where the conversation's going is really a key quality that we started thinking about and hiring for. So we thought about these qualities and we started thinking about, for each role that we had at TPA, how would these qualities show up? What would their outcomes look like in the role? And so we actually, there was one book that really helped inform us, Who, by Jeff Smart and Randy Street. And one big takeaway from this book that really helped us was this idea of starting with the outcome you want to see when you're hiring someone. So what do you want to see this position really, what are the outcomes you want to see behind it? And when we think about coaching, we want to be hiring for someone who wants to create a transformational experience with their participants, not a transactional one. We want someone who thinks about building relationships and connections with their participants. So those are some things that really started informing how we could build this tool about hiring, coaching, and client people. So to get into the weeds a little bit of the tool that we built, it has a few elements. So the first element is actually a couple paragraphs that you can add to your job descriptions when you're posting your job. These paragraphs really kind of highlight the qualities that we believe, make someone a successful coach. And again, gives someone who's applying to your organization kind of that transparency about what you're looking for, why you do coaching at your organizations. The other part of the tool is actually a scoring rubric around the 5 qualities I'm going to share with you in just a second, and actually and also comes with sample interview questions that you can use and pick from to get at the qualities that we kind of teased out from working with our community-based partners. So the 5 qualities that we thought were most important to start with when it came to hiring, coaching, client people was listening and empathy, collaboration and transparent relationships, respect and humility, flexibility and adaptability, and lastly, this one's a little bit of a mouthful, but we believe that recognizing how deeply held beliefs and assumptions impact our work at the individual, organizational, and institutional level. So let's break these down one by one. So the first quality is listening and empathy. Not surprising, coaching takes a huge amount of active listening and the ability to really change your opinions, change your point of view, and always starts with questions, really seeking to understand someone's experience. And so we believe that, having the ability to understand the nuanced and the complexity of someone's experience is really key. Next is collaboration and transparent relationships. So one of the ways we thought about describing this was really not only being transparent and collaborative with the participant that maybe you're serving at that time, but also with your colleagues. The benefit of sharing highlights, successes, sharing weaknesses with the way you're trying out tools in your organization can really help everyone be better. Respect and humility. So we believe that recognizing the power and self-efficacy that individuals bring and that they really should lead the change and drive their own solutions is key. So that's where the respect and as well as the humility to say, I don't always know what's best. I need to be respectful of this person's story and their personal journey, and that will help me be a successful coach. Then we have flexibility and adaptability. Again, when I mentioned the kind of fluidity of approach, you come in with a plan sometimes, and sometimes your coaching conversation, takes a different direction. That ability to adapt and be flexible to those type of experiences is really key, again, to the coaching approach. And again, recognizing that everyone's different. Everyone's going to need a little bit different. Change is not linear. Sometimes you go backwards, sometimes you go forwards, and really recognizing that you need to be adaptable and flexible to that participant who's walking in that day. Lastly is the recognizes how deeply held beliefs and assumptions impact our work at the individual, organizational, and institutional level. And this is really trying to say that poverty is complex. When someone walks in, it is not because of their individual choices that they have ended up there, but instead that they, that we're bringing this idea of critical thinking and kind of awareness to how power and privilege has shaped, the experiences of this person, and really leaving some space for them, again, to share their own story is important. So again, each of these qualities come with some sample interview questions that we have. One of the questions is, why do you think people are in poverty? Why do you think people are experiencing poverty? How do you work with your colleagues? How do you show up for your colleagues? Tell me about a time you changed your mind. So each of those are kind of mapped back to the individual qualities that I just mentioned. Again, this is just a starting point. We know that a lot of organizations are already asking some of these questions, are already looking for some of these qualities. We encourage you to look at this, take what you like from it, leave behind what you don't, and really build it in, think about building it into some of the processes you have. One, I'll share just a few highlights of people using this tool and what we heard back. One partner who used the tool mentioned, we're going through a hiring process, and actually instead of hiring someone with, a longer list of credentials for that job, they actually ended up hiring someone with more of that quote unquote fire in the belly, that passion, that dedication for the work. And this tool really kind of helped nudge them to thinking about the position more broadly, and again, what outcomes they were looking for. And we actually had another partner for those organizations who are not in the midst of a hiring process, actually use this tool to create some professional development opportunities at their organization. So they took one quality each month and kind of held these lunch and learn workshops, and actually just had an open dialogue about what that quality meant to them. How does it show up in their work? How else could it show up in the work? How could they really help each other kind of live and breathe this quality? So that's a bright spot to share. Again, I want to acknowledge that a lot of organizations are already doing pieces of this, or if not all of it, in their organizations. We just wanted to provide, again, a different framework to share in your organizations and maybe create a different conversation. So I'll just say, the tool will actually be emailed out to you as a follow-up to this webinar by tomorrow if you're registered. We would love to know what you think of it. Please give us feedback. We're still collecting feedback and refining this tool in the moment. And for those who are interested and watching this webinar at a later date, feel free to email us at info@theprosperityagenda.org, and we'll make sure that you have access to the tool. Before I close and move to question and answer, I do want to give a brief shout out to our project partners who helped us create this tool and really gave us their insights and experience. So YWCA of Greater Seattle, Skagit County, Community Action of Skagit County, Sound Outreach, and Hacienda CDC. Their experiences really helped inform and iterate and test this tool, so thank you. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Join us next month for more coaching tips and resources, and be sure to stick around for question and answer. Of course, if you have any questions about our coaching training programs and would like to sign up for our next coaching up close mini webinar, visit us at www.theprosperityagenda.org/innovation marketplace.